Greetings and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding, the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle fresh from the ladder. Featuring spawning in the north, it's going to be the United States forces of SOE Overlord. A brand new player to the channel, so a warm welcome to Overlord. And spawning in the south, it's going to be the Overcommand West forces of KN Barbarossa. So Barbarossa has featured on the channel before, so welcome back Barbarossa. The map today is going to be Minsk Pocket, so this is one of these maps that's been in since release. It always reminds me of, if you know the map on Dota 2, it's got kind of like 3 lanes, you know, you've got like right, mid, and left, or I guess as they're called in Dota, it's like off, and mid, and safe, or something like that. Yeah, you've got, let me just crack the tack here, you've got these 3 lanes, one through the middle like this, one through the right, which has kind of like a little walled-in base here, and one down sort of the left here, so yeah, kind of reminds me of Dota. Anyway, seems like Barbarossa going to drive his truck on into a reasonably advanced position, probably looking to establish that battle group at HQ. This is a really good, decent map, I feel, for Overcommand. If you can get your battle group at HQ established here and get really aggressive in the early and mid game, then if you make enough of a lead before the late game when things turn hellish, you can do really well. And the reason I say things turn hellish is because if you put your battle group at HQ in this sort of anywhere around this central location here, once your enemies get into the late game, particularly against Soviets, but against many Allied forces, the indirect fire and the weapon team advantage just starts becoming crazy. You know, this is a really good map for weapon teams. So ZIS guns, anti-tank guns of all flavors, and machine guns do really well, as do mortar teams and so on. And I just find that once you get into the late game, your allied opponent usually has so much indirect fire, be it priests, be it British base fire, be it Katushkas and things like that, that these forward positions get very hard to maintain. So you have to have a lot of advantage by the time you reach that time on this map, in my opinion. That's the way it often feels to me. So, let's see now. The build order for our allied player. He has gone for the Rifle Company Commander. He's gone for 3 squads of riflemen, including 1 veteran rifleman squad. Probably one of the last times we'll see it on the channel because, of course, this commander is in for some heavy changes coming with the December patch. We're going to see no more veteran riflemen, and instead rifleman squads under this commander will have the fire up ability, where I believe they can run faster or something like that. It's kind of like a stim pack as far as I know. Storm Pioneers here on the left, they're going to get these rear echelons, and they're going to have to fall back. Some barbed wire being placed down here by the rear echelons, but that's not going to be enough to stop the Storm Pioneers. Of course, they can run through this gap here, and they can even later on cut that barbed wire if they go for the toolkit upgrade. The battle group at HQ has come down in this central location, and that's going to get scouted by the American player just around about now. Let me turn on Fog of War. Yeah, there we go. We can see that he does indeed see this position. A couple of sandbags here in nice positions, but no forces here to make use of them just now, and it looks like the American player is actually probably going to be able to decapture and maybe even capture this crucial fuel point for the Overcommand player. And this is probably the first bit of advantage we're going to see this game. So it seems like the first effective blow here being struck by SOE Overlord. Riflemen also chewing up ground in the east of the map. The Storm Pioneers looking to transition to mid perhaps and come deal with this situation perhaps. Of course, rifles just firing at this building doesn't actually do them any damage, and until these guys get flamethrowers, which won't be for some time, command points 3 I believe that is, yeah. Until these guys do get their flamethrowers, they don't really have a viable way of harming buildings, so this battle group at HQ for now, completely safe. Riflemen going to get into the heavy cover positions. They know now that the Overcommand infantry mostly coming in. And we've got 4 squads of Volksgrenadier, the build order for KN Barbarossa. You know what, these trees are right in the way. Let me just rotate the camera around, sorry about that. There we go, now we can see the entire concave as it comes together for the Axis forces here. Making good use of the cover. These Storm Pioneers alone probably going to force the fallback. He could get a little bit closer with these guys actually. Wow, yep, and there we go, there comes the double fallback. Possibly leaving it a little bit late, I'm not quite sure why he decided to trade that long. Just in terms of manpower bleed, the American player is now going to have to reinforce like 3 riflemen, which is kind of annoying. What's also kind of annoying is that this squad of 5 men is going to fall back, and they're on half health, which means he's not going to be able to put any more health on that squad. So they're going to have to come back and fight again at half health, which is super annoying. Unless he happens to be, yep, he does happen to be going through for a 3/4 ton ambulance right now. So the ambulance there going to be able to heal up the wounded American squads. That's going to be really useful. Taking back the fuel point, taking back the central victory point is Barbarossa right now, but he's falling behind in terms of victory points, and he doesn't really have any map presence. If I crack the tack, he doesn't really have any map presence outside of this bubble here, so he needs to just peel off a couple of squads down each flank, try and deal with the American forces, and start chewing up some ground if he's gonna keep pace in the victory points and resources stakes. And of course that's so important when you're playing as Overcommand. The resource penalty already puts you in a fairly restricted decision-making position, so you really need as many resources as you can so that you can respond as best you can to any potential units and strategies that your opponent employs. Basically, if you get resource screwed with Overcommand, it really hurts. So let's see now, Riflemen getting some work done over here. They're going to be grabbing this munition point next, and SOE Overlord doing a really good job of just fanning his units out around the map and dominating the ground. Now it seems that he's gone captain before lieutenant. This is less standard these days. It's not often we see this from the American forces. It's kind of like standard play. Oh look, is that the shortcut? Oh, Control F is the shortcut for Fog of War. I've literally just figured that out. Casting for the win! You'd have thought after like nearly 100 casts I should know this stuff. But anyway, yeah, so the Lieutenant first is usually pretty standard. Lieutenant, of course, the potent anti-infantry squad, whereas having a Captain less useful at the timing that he comes out, if you go for him first. Also, the Lieutenant unlocks quite a few powerful units which American players have come to rely on. Things like the AA half-track, really decent, and the utility car in the early game, actually really good. Anyway, seems like we've got a Rakettenwerfer, the next choice here, for Barbarossa. He's not floating any manpower or anything, so he's spending his resources in a timely manner. He does have the forward fallback point, and this is a little bit of a massacre being organised by these American forces. Now, they're not going to outlast the frantic reinforce rate provided by this HQ building, but they did manage to get a fair amount of damage onto this Volk squad. They're going to have to start falling back, though, here, because they're basically trading for no advantage. They're just kind of giving veterancy to the Axis forces, so yeah, they're going to have to get back, but I mean, that took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Axis squads to deal with 4 Allied squads, and meanwhile, these riflemen were off around the map just capturing points. So again, SOE Overlord just being slightly more efficient with his units, and he's kind of, just by doing that, just by little things, just by being slightly more efficient, just by being able to take fights with 1 fewer infantry squads, thereby allowing other squads to be capturing elsewhere on the map. He's pulled up a 100-point ticket lead, and we're only 7.5 minutes in, so that is some pretty important stuff. These riflemen are just trading fiercely, and they do have the ambulance connected and in friendly territory behind them, so they can actually reinforce and heal just here, whereas the Overcommand forces can reinforce and heal just here. So this is going to be a really kind of tense turf war here. You can see all squads just trading. Now it all comes down basically to positioning, range and cover. Of course the American forces basically superior to Volksgrenadiers at all ranges, but I believe they're most efficient at the closer ranges because the Garand just fires so quickly. You can hose down the Volksgrenadiers before they've had time to get many shots off with their KAR-98Ks. So I guess that's the plan, but I'm not 100% on that. I don't play. I think America is my least played faction. I just it's not a faction for me, sadly. I do enjoy playing it, and I do from time to time. This could be a squad wipe. Oh, he gets focused down. Barbarossa there, just not paying attention, and that is going to punish him. He loses a 1-star Volk squad with a Panzerschreck. Here comes the Stuart, and things are beginning to go pretty bad now for Barbarossa. His Rakettenwerfer was in a bad place at a bad time. That's going to get wiped, and he now has like basically no AT. He has a Schreck on this Volk squad, but you have to feel like the American infantry is just going to push them. Even the Stuart is focusing the Volk squad, and although the Stuart has to get back for now, this is going to be a desperate hold, and I feel like Barbarossa, he's chosen the Scavenge Doctrine, and I didn't see when he did that, but I kind of feel like he really needed to pick a commander who had the MG34, because this is getting out of hand here, and it's not like he can just abandon his position here. This is his first truck, and losing that stings so much for Overcommand, especially at this timing in the game. I mean, the earlier you lose it, the more it stings, so... anyway, these Storm Pioneers are pretty low. Let's see if the American player is going to force it. The flamethrower upgrades have come down on these riflemen, so they can now try and deal with this building. The Stuart as well can get involved. He can just hop the crew out actually and start healing that, but for now it's using the range on its cannon to just do damage to infantry. 5 kills on the light tank already, and Barbarossa right now really has his back up against the wall. The American player is just going to take a second here to reinforce and heal his units. A valid plan, of course. Oh, did he lose his first ambulance? Oh, I did not see that. Oh, he did lose the first ambulance. Sorry about that. Didn't cover that. Wasn't cognizant of that. Wow. In which case, however this ambulance died, and I'm guessing it was just a forward Schreck, Or maybe it was the Kettenwerfer, actually. Maybe that explains why it was so far forwards. The death of this ambulance has led to the end of this push, and Barbarossa now has an opportunity to pull himself back into this game. So clearly it was an absolutely key decision on Barbarossa's part there to take out the ambulance, and if that hadn't gone down, you can imagine there would just be still like waves of riflemen with flamethrowers and a captain squad with Zooks and a Stewart all just pushing here. So taking out that ambulance was absolutely key, and the importance of having a forward reinforce point being massively highlighted there. And this is why I'm always amazed. Why don't Wehrmacht players use the 251 half-track in its reinforcing capacity more often? I always do when I play as Wehrmacht, and I love it, and it allows me to keep on pressure, just like we just saw the American player apply with Grenadiers, with Panzer Grenadiers, reinforcing your MGs. It just lets you keep the pressure on, and your squads can actually be taking a lot of fire, but constantly reinforcing, so it addresses the durability of the Wehrmacht faction. But then again, I can't really claim to be the highest level of Wehrmacht player. I can't really claim to be the highest level of player at all in this game, actually. But I think my two strongest teams are definitely the British and the Overcommand. But I do enjoy playing as Wehrmacht, and it always strikes me that Wehrmacht players don't make use of that half-track. Anyway, I should turn my attention back to this battle. Looks like we've got another big fight in mid. The ambulance is re-established, so the pressure is back on now. Is Barbarossa going to recognise the threat and get deployed in time? This battle group at HQ is going to come down with perfect timing. Oh, not a second too late on that one, and that is actually covering the central victory point. This is just what Barbarossa needed. Now the Stuart's poking in from the west here, but that shouldn't be too bad of issues. He's only got one Panzerschreck, so that's pretty annoying, actually. These Jaeger light infantry, they're going to try and capture the mid, but look how many, we've got 4 squads of riflemen plus a captain and a captured Rakettenwerfer. Oh my goodness, this captured Rakettenwerfer could... actually no, you know what, it's probably got about the same range as this building, so maybe it can't attack round and get the pressure on. But anyway, speaking of the pressure being on, this Stuart, I mean, it's just whittling down the battle group at HQ. And where are the storm pioneers? Here they come now. They're going to have to repair it. But look how inactive Barbarossa is being with most of his force. There's like all of his units, literally all his units are on this screen here. This is it. And when your units are this concentrated, alarm bells should always be ringing when you're playing Company of Heroes. Certainly having some units concentrated can lead to a very powerful formation and allow you to push and take fights, but if you're not spread out and if you don't have presence across the map, you are usually losing in this game. And to that end, we see a Volks Grenadier squad going to peel off here and try and get some work done, but 2 Rifleman squads going to be right here, and they're just, yeah, that's an instant fallback. Barbarossa in desperate need of trying to get some work done. Now, what I would love, if he can save up 300 manpower, spawning a squad of Jaegerlights here to capture this point and then booby trap it and then start doing some other work. That's what Jaegerlight infantry, you know, they can fight for sure and they're reasonably decent in a fight as long as they're at long range, but you have to think of them more as light disruption troops. Make use of their sprint ability, make use of that booby trap ability, and they can be really, really, really annoying for your opponent to take care of if they're just running around the backfield. And when your opponent also has most of his forces concentrated into a very small area like this and is trying to take a fight with you, having just a couple of squads or even just one squad of Jaegerlight infantry in the backfield doing stuff can be the difference. Because when both players are forced to commit so many units to a fight like this, it all comes down to who can just be so efficient in the fight. They can have 1 or 2 units elsewhere capping, and that is the player who comes out ahead. And right now that player is SOE Overlord, because he has 2 squads of riflemen out on the map capping whilst maintaining an equal amount of pressure and force in the middle of the map. So anyway, the Overcommand player right now trailing by nearly 200 victory points. These riflemen need to get active though, or maybe they're just going to garrison this location against potential Volks Grenadiers coming in actually. This cuts off a pretty nice artery for the Overcommand player to get out and start harassing on the map, so that's actually pretty valid. A captain here going to try and sneak forward and get some capping done, but the Schwerepanzer HQ just going to say no. Storm Pioneer is going to start repairing that, and Barbarossa at the moment desperately needs some kind of anti-tank. Now he does have a Rakettenwerfer coming in. Here comes the White Phosphorus Barrage, and this could be quite painful for the Overcommand forces. Was Barbarossa paying attention? These Jaegerlight infantry are probably going to get creamed, and oh wow, they get a good grenade barrage out, but then yeah, there we go, there comes the fallback, which is very much needed. The ambulance gets taken out for the 2nd time, so Barbarossa achieving his aims, and this ought to buy him a considerable amount of time. Now an incendiary grenade comes down onto the captain squad, who's presently burning. Does Overlord see this? He needs to relocate or fall the squad back, down to just 2 men now, probably a fallback required, because there's no ambulance nearby. So I imagine that should be a fallback. Now these Storm Pioneers have kept these buildings in tip-top condition, which is very good. Now where is the Stuart doing all this? Is the vehicle crew popped out and is healing it? Oh yeah, here we go. So it is healed. They just need to hop back in and get that light tank back on the go. I still think it's totally valid coming in here and poking from this side, though it seems Barbarossa remembers this. He's going to put the Rakettenwerfer somewhere nearby. Oh wow! Here we go. So an M1AT gun, going to use its superior range to attack ground on the overcommand positions, and this is standard stuff. You know, this is what you need to do when you have an entrenched overcommand player. Fighting position here, in a decent position actually. Taking a lot of fire at the moment, but oh wow, taking a lot of fire. This Rakettenwerfer doing work actually against the American fighting position. Bang! That's going to destroy it straight away, and that was a 50 cal upgraded one as well. So a slightly painful loss for the American player there, but you know, nothing too bad, nothing he can't sustain and didn't count on losing. You've got to feel. An Osprey is the choice here for Barbarossa, so making use of the Scavenge Doctrine's ability to call in this tank, and you can kind of think of this unit as being like it has a lot of overlap with the Panzer II Lukes, but it has a number of advantages, mainly durability, but also utility against blobs of infantry, because the Lukes is very good, and I would say it's better against a single squad, but the Ostwind has the AOE effectiveness to make it more damaging against multiple squads. So for that reason, it seems like a sensible choice for Barbarossa, given the nature of the fighting here in the middle. I can imagine an Ostwind being more successful than a Panzer II. Of course, actually another thing, an Ostwind can bully a Stuart, whereas a Stuart will bully a Panzer II. So anyway, some white phosphorus being used here. Not quite sure why. That seemed like a pretty preemptive white phosphorus, and that didn't really generate any real advantage. And it's not a cheap ability, 130 munitions there, so you've got to be careful. Anyway, two overcommand squads are actually getting some work done on the right-hand side of the map now, grabbing a munitions point and crucially grabbing this victory point, which is going to stem the tide, or stem the flow of victory points that Keon Barbarossa has been bleeding so far. He's also got one squad, the Storm Pioneers, out on the left flank. So things beginning to look up a little bit for Barbarossa, and Overlord's position is a little bit compacted right now. Too many units just right here. He needs to fan out and send some units out around the map to curtail the advances of his opponent on the left and right flanks. Now the Stuart's going to keep doing well. You know, it's been doing well most of this game, but its effectiveness is now a lot more limited. Its window of opportunity has been fairly well closed by the fact that we have Rakettenwerfers and Shrek Volks out. So it's pretty difficult. Oh, and of course the Ostwind, all of which add up to a reasonable screen for that Stuart. Seemingly the Stuart's now going to transition to the left to try and find these Storm Pioneers, and that will force a fallback. So Overlord has recognised what he needs to do, and look, you can see his positioning. If I crack the minimap, you can see he's sending his forces out onto the flanks to address the overcommand units, which are out there capping. Now, looks like we may have a fight taken here amid this Rakettenwerfer facing the wrong direction, and a good Shrek off of these Volks who find themselves now at 5-star. The Stuart pretty low, and that's going to get taken out by a fantastic shot from that Rakettenwerfer. The Ostwind's going to get back, and the Rakettenwerfer using its advantage over other AT guns, able to fall back, and that's going to save it there from the massive amounts of flamethrower infantry. Now, I bet that Barbarossa wishes he could have a sniper, because this is just such a good composition to have a sniper against, but of course that's not an option for Overcommand, so we're not going to see a sniper anytime soon for Barbarossa. 4 units being sent to the left flank right now. Barbarossa in a slightly more comfortable position. He's no longer bleeding out. He's catching up slowly in the score tickets. I would still love to see him just spawn a unit of Jaeger Lights up here and start capping. Wow, he's up to 4 squads of Volks and 2 of Jaeger Lights. That is a lot of frontline infantry. 4 rifleman squads, a major and a captain. No lieutenant still, so I'm guessing that that's not going to be forthcoming. The major has been taken, of course, and this is going to allow access to Easy 8s very soon, in fact, actually. Let me just check. How much is an Easy 8 in terms of manpower? 380, so actually he's 60 manpower away. So we could see the Easy 8 being added to the field very soon. Now, Barbarossa has only 85 fuel and not a lot of manpower, so he's going to have to rely on his Shreks and his Rakettenwerfers to take that out. Of course, the Ostwind totally loses to the Easy 8, so he'll not be wanting to commit that unit to it. Now, a captain squad here, falling back reasonably early, I guess not wanting to get run down by the Ostwind, so the Ostwind's going to clean that up. And this is what the Ostwind is for in this Overcommand army composition. It's for just being a very mobile unit, which is good against infantry, which can kind of just clear up enemy squads that are trying to push up on your flanks and things like that, or into your backfield. So, as I say, quite similar to how you might use a Panzer II Lukes. That is for the moment. Of course, in December, the Panzer II Lukes going to be moved to the to the Mechanized Regiment HQ and going to cost 10 more fuel, but with regular fuel income, you're going to see some early Panzer Luxes. The last patch notes I looked at, the Panzer II Luxing was getting so severe, I think, that they've reduced its penetration to make it less effective against vehicles. So We'll have to see how the plucky light tank is gonna fare, but it seems like it's about to have its day in the sun, as it were. Now this is a lot of forces to have standing around doing nothing. Come on, Barbarossa, what are we doing here, eh? Ah, there we go. Yep, mobility. The mobilization orders have come through, and it looks like push forwards is the order. Now, without a lieutenant, there's no option for a 50 cal for these American forces, but you have to feel like actually the 50 cal would be a pretty good choice at the moment. I mean, it would lock down middle, and as I was saying earlier, this is one of those maps where weapon teams really thrive. Yeah, a 50 cal would lock down mid a little bit better. And, you know, also would help is probably maybe some pack howitzers or a motor carriage. And the reason I say it is because he needs some way of taking care of this building, because whilst that Schwerer HQ stands, he can't really take this middle victory point. Anyway, a fight's being taken here. Plucky Oswin coming forward, but I think it's going to get taken out. It's spending way too long in front of this AT gun. That's going to be a dead Oswin. You have to feel. No? Oh, wow, the final shot not forthcoming. There it is, there it is. Boom. So that Oswin's going to get destroyed. Needlessly so, you have to feel. Like, I'm not quite sure what it was doing in that location for so long. This AT gun was always going to destroy that Oswind if it's going to do that. Anyway, here comes a nice concave of Volksgrenadiers, and that's going to force the American position back. And SOE Overlord really on the back foot right now. Some Volksgrenadiers have made it all the way through to capture this victory point. They need to be active, though. They're just kind of standing around. There we go. And so, yeah, I mean, let's see now. Are there any more wrecks? There's some potential salvage work that can be done here as well. I would like to see some Jaeger lights attached to salvage this. What have we got up here? Okay, so an EZ-8 has been deployed. Look at the gun on that thing. Massive. So yeah, an EZ-8 has been deployed. Now that was momentarily on the right flank, but gets out of there just in time to dodge this Rakettenwerfer, so good times there. And if I crack the tack, look at this push-up from Barbarossa. He has sensed that he has the advantage, and he's going to try and make full use of that. Wow. Another Schwerer in position here. Gotta think, of course, that's going to be the Mechanized Regiment HQ sooner rather than later. Some American forces moving out onto the left flank, going to start taking back this victory point, but these Volksgrenadiers, I believe these two sectors here are now cut off for the American player. Yes, they are. So Barbarossa really doing a number on Overlord right now. The income right now, 23 and 26 munitions, sorry, fuel and munitions respectively, over 7 and 11 for the Allied player. So Barbarossa has turned this around a little bit. In the early game, the American pressure was looking pretty decent. When that Stuart was pushing, you know, that could all have ended, but losing the ambulance both the first time and the second time broke those advances, and now Barbarossa's really been able to capitalise. And we're going to have to see if the American player, SOE Overlord, is going to be able to get out from under this. Oh no, he spent his next 100 fuel on another Oswind. Wow, I was late seeing this, but there's another Oswind on the field. And this EZ-8's just going to have it for breakfast. That is a dead Oswind. I think the Osman was the last thing he needed, because like you're not really having problems against infantry. I think probably a Jagdpanzer IV would have been like a fantastic choice. A Jagdpanzer IV, because you know the EZ-8 is coming, so it has to be a Panther or a Jagdpanzer IV, really. And either of those would have been fine. Uh-oh, this Osman is abandoned. Looks like, is the final shot going to come down? Oh wow, the EZ-8 is going super deep right now. It's got a load of Volks behind it. White Phosphorus Barrage comes down in a fantastic position though, burning many of the Overcommand units, and they're on super low, like pixels of health. So, my goodness, the kill could come down on any of these squads at any moment. They're going to disengage. Oh, it gets one of the squads though, and Overlord making something happen. He's taken the left-hand side of the map. He's got a couple of AT guns here and a number of infantry squads doing work on the left flank. This major positioning is a bit suspect. I know he may have been thinking about capture this point, but you usually want the major fairly central to your lines because he's your forward fallback point, and he's not worth much in combat. I mean, you know, he's a three-man squad, one of whom has a pistol. So, interesting that he's decided to put these guys here. These Volksgrenadiers, yeah, there we go. I mean, they're just going to force the major back instantly, and that'll be a recap there. Now, these riflemen are, sorry, this captain has broken through and taken this victory point. So, SOE Overlord making some stuff happen. A grenade comes flailing in, and that's going to do some damage here in the middle. But I don't think this is a position you can assault right now, Overlord. You need some indirect fire. He's desperately in need of indirect fire, in fact, I would say. He needs either a motor carriage. Can he afford a motor carriage? I believe he can right now. Yeah, a motor carriage would be a really nice choice then. That thing does so much damage. That's another unit which I think is criminally underutilized, actually. American players, I just often see them... Well, I often see them not making the motor carriage. Is an awkward way of saying I very rarely see them make the motor carriage. And this captain squad... He's got like some kind of... Oh, he's at 3-star veterancy, so he has like the speed up. That's pretty damn spicy, to be honest. just running around getting some capping done. But speaking of getting capping done, here on the left, there are 3 points being grabbed simultaneously. I can just about get them all in frame there. 3 points being captured simultaneously by Barbarossa. The score right now, Barbarossa still trails at 250 under 355 for Overlord. So Overlord has some time to work with here, but I fear for his composition a little bit. As I say, I really think he needs some indirect fire. He also lost that Easy 8, which he now feels compelled to replace, and I don't really agree with this at all, because an Easy 8, yes, it's an all-rounder tank and it's effective against infantry, but its primary target is definitely armor. I mean, the Sherman, for example, with high explosive shells is better against infantry. And right now, all your opponent really has is infantry. So he's got like Raketenwerfers, Volksgrenadiers, a couple of Shreks on there, 3 Shreks on those Volksgrenadiers. So I'm not quite sure that the Easy 8's like the best choice right now. I really think a motor carriage, it counters the infantry, it counters the weapons teams, and it also can help you apply pressure onto these buildings here. So that would be my criticism of Overlord right now. He's also floating like a little bit of manpower. I'm just thinking, you know, he could maybe look to afford a pack howitzer or something like that, just as a fuel-free way of getting some indirect fire, because I really feel like without the indirect fire, he's never going to crack this position, and he's never going to be able to hold this middle victory point, and that's going to make fighting really awkward for Overlord, because that means holding the left and the right too if he wants to win, and that's quite a stretch. Whoa, what's going on here? Oh, bit of computer lag there, sorry about that, some kind of technical difficulty going on under the hood there. Anyway, seems like the Easy 8's going to roll on out onto the right flank, and we'll see if it's going to be able to get any work done. If it keeps heading out this way, it's going to encounter a Volksgrenadier squad, which doesn't have a Shrek, so yeah, it may well be able to get some work done. A fight going on here, a load of riflemen with the flamethrowers going to start taking apart these Volks. They're going to fall back quickly. Now, these riflemen are not very reinforced, and he has not replaced his ambulance. Now, compare and contrast, oh, by the way, Jagdpanzer 4 on the way, but compare and contrast the strength of the American forces and the ferocity of their assault and map control when they had an ambulance compared to when they didn't. It's pretty pronounced if you look back over this replay. And from that point of view, it is mystifying to me, especially considering how cheap the ambulance is, that this Overlord has not replaced it. It feels like he's only firing on half his cylinders right now, without that ambulance to maintain map presence and pressure. I mean, even if the ambulance is only here, that gives him such a better forward position to operate from, and of course he now has the Major to tag up with the ambulance, which he didn't before, so I feel like the potency of the ambulance would be amplified at this stage in the game, and Overlord isn't actually taking advantage of that, so I would cite that as another possible criticism of his play right now. God, I feel like such a dick when I just offer criticisms all the time, but I kind of feel like as an observer, that's kind of like part of my role. And, you know, sometimes you just spot something and you think, hey, you know what, this would be better if, and you just, you know, that's like kind of my job, I guess. But I guess I should point out that like both these players are just playing their hearts out. I mean, everybody, when you play an RTS is a hard game, so they take up like all of your ability, generally speaking. If you're playing up against someone who knows what they're doing, you know, it's pretty stressful stuff. And you know, you do make these mistakes, and it's very easy to get focused on small things or like not see the big picture. I've done it myself, and then I watch my replays and I'm like, oh, why didn't I build one of these or something? You know? So I'm not saying I'm like the master or anything. I'm just saying. Those two criticisms. I think get a motor carriage or a pack howitzer and another ambulance would be sweet for the American forces. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, here comes a pretty big push from Overlord. The flamethrower rifleman getting some work done. Ooh, not a squad wipe going to go down on this Volksgrenadier. Wow! Okay, I take it back. The Easy 8 just smashed those last 2 retreating guys. Fantastic. Damn. Wow, I didn't... Okay, apparently I have not enough respect for the anti-infantry firepower on the Easy 8. That's pretty decent stuff. Also, these Volksgrenadiers on the right flank may well get... I don't know if they can beat a 3-star rifle squad with a flamer at this range. I don't think so, because this squad's going to have to fall back, and that just leaves this 1-star squad. Yeah, they're going to get out of there. And this American push, like, again, imagine if he had an ambulance. He still has his medic squad, in fairness, so credit where credit's due. That's a good thing, but he really needs that ambulance to push forward. And where's his Major right now? It's just doing capping work. I love it. He's kind of using his Major like a squad of rear echelons. Just like moving around the map doing some capping. Anyway, Jaeger light infantry here, they're going to be doing their thing at long range, instantly decrewing, more or less instantly decrewing this Raketenwerfer. Now they're going to start trying to work on the on the M1AT gun, and look how effective the Jaeger Light Infantry are. That's 3 squads worth mine, but look how effective they are against weapon teams. They're very accurate, and then they have the accuracy bonus on top of that. That's pretty good. This Raketenwerfer getting hit right on the nose. Here comes the tank destroyer though, and that is set to destroy vehicles. Oh, he needs to be careful with it though. He's advancing into an AT gun. Having said that, it's worth it. The EZ8 is on incredibly low health. The tank destroyer is pushing forwards. It gets a shot, but that's a miss, and I think the EZ8 is going to survive. A grenade comes down in a great position, inflicting some damage on these Volks, but not as much as I thought. And it seems like with that, Barbarossa is going to force back this push from Overlord. And again, I have to imagine, like, what if he had an ambulance and a major here? It would be really, really nasty. He'd be able to come back straight away and keep the pressure on much faster. Now, the crew needs to hop on out of this EZ8. In fact, wait. Yeah, the crew needs to hop out of this EZ8. That is the thing that they can do. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure the EZ8 has that ability, because I know the Pershing doesn't, which seems odd to me. Like all the other American vehicles, you can take the crew out of, except the Pershing. I'm not sure quite what the reasoning behind that was. I mean, I think the Pershing's a very good unit, but I don't think that would make it overpowered. Anyway, I digress. 3 squads of Jaeger Light Infantry going to come in here. They're going to take care of this Raketenwerfer. That's going to have to be forced to retreat. There's a dim chance of a squad wipe. Jaegers can just sometimes just pick off men pretty rapidly, but that's not going to happen here right now. On the right-hand side of the map, Overlord's been very active, so credit to him there. And he's still in this game. I mean, he's now behind on victory points, and I just don't think he can take a fight where he comes out ahead without an ambulance. And I also don't think he can clear this position here without indirect fire. So I still think that those are like the 2 crucial things he's missing. Barbarossa now mixing in some Oversoldat, and they've got the LMG-34 upgrade. Whoa, but a big amount of American infantry here. Whoa, that's loads. Just gonna force their way through, and also a squad pushing out here on the left. It's the captain. So that's actually really cool. And right now, I kind of feel like Overlord doesn't really need these resources so much. If I were him, I would just skip this point and go straight on for this victory point, just because you're at 183 now, under the 250 of KM Barbarossa. So Barbarossa has definitely stabilized. Well, he's been stabilized for quite some time, and now it's Overlord who needs to stabilize. Here comes the EZ8. That's nearly half a star of veterancy on that unit. This has been quite a passive battle, actually. There have been some big fights, but mostly it's been reasonably passive, which is quite unusual for a game of Company of Heroes, to be honest. Anyway, 2 Raketenwerfers set up in a fantastic position. If this EZ8 comes forward, it's going to be in for some pain. I think a Raketenwerfer will 5-shot an EZ8, I believe. Oh, wow. And of course, there's the Jagdpanzer too, and that is a lot of anti-tank when you put it together with these Raketenwerfers. Here come the infantry, and the Obersoldaten on attack move in. I hope that they're on attack move. They seem to be. They're engaging at the correct range. They're going to really, really hurt. Now here comes the move out. This is just... Whoa, I don't know about this. There is... I would spread these units out. You can just select them all and then use tab to spread them out. So... not sure about that. Meanwhile, over here on the left, a grenade comes out from the captain squad. I think it was a grenade. Actually, he doesn't have the ability to throw grenades, so maybe I'm wrong. These Volksgrenadiers need to get out because they're down to 2 men. So keep your eyes on the mini-map to see the conclusion of that battle. Now, whoa, the Jagdpanzer taking shots, utilising its range to keep back this EZ8. The American infantry is actually getting a surprising amount of work done. Was that a squad wipe? Yeah, destroying there with a nice grenade. A squad of Jaeger Lights. Actually, or was it just 1 man from that squad who was over here, and then the squad icon was relocated? Yeah, I think that's what happened. So actually, sorry, no, not getting a squad wipe. There are still 3 squads of Jaeger Lights on the field, and wow, it is. I don't know. I mean, like, it just seems like that is about as good of a fight as I think you can possibly take with these units against this composition for Overlord, without an ambulance or a major to make this gain significant. Because look, he's just going to have to fall all the way back to base, reinforce, rearm his guys again, and that's going to slow him down a lot. Anyway, some Volksgrenadiers here. They're going to win the day out on the right flank. They're going to grab that victory point back. And meanwhile, a captain squad is still pushing forward on the left flank. So they're up to... They've captured like 3 points now. Probable squad wipe coming down here, which is unfortunate. The Obersoldaten don't tend to mess around with retreating squads. Oh, but nope, he doesn't get away. The Obersoldaten there with the KR-98K gonna get that final hit there. These Raketenwerfers, there we go, they're gonna be redeployed just now. And let's see what we got here. Oh, this Vermac Schlepper is still chilling. Oh, he could probably build that into a building actually. It seems like he's got the resources. He might just be saving for a Panther, actually. That would be a really nice compliment. A Panther would probably close this game out right now, with the Jagdpanzer 4 already on the field. Oh, I've just seen Barbarossa's perks. He's got 15% cheaper, 15% cheaper Panzerschrecks. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that thing just costs 77 now. Oh, that's interesting. So it costs 77. That means that the those cheapnesses are applied in cereal? I don't know, I'll have to look at that in a second. Anyway, load of grenades come down in fantastic positions. All of that American infantry super low. That's going to be forced back almost instantly. Rakettenwerfer's doing fantastic work. The Easy 8's going to trade with the Jagdpanzer, which I'm afraid I didn't actually see the fight. That is a shame. That's a shame for Barbarossa, really, actually. He shouldn't have lost that Jagdpanzer there. And Overlord has nearly enough. In fact, he had an Easy 8 cost how much fuel? 140 fuel, so he could replace that Easy 8 pretty much straight away. And if I was Barbarossa, I would save for a Panther at this juncture, I think, rather than replacing the Jagdpanzer. I would also salvage these because salvaging is good. Anyway, though, here comes, like, kind of the final assault, I guess you could call it. On these guys. You know what I'm going to do? I never do this usually, but I am going to fast forward just a little bit. Just because the American player is being so passive. Okay, here comes another push out. Here it comes. Right, here we go. So he's regrouped. He's reinforced. He does have a pack howitzer, and he's getting a motor carriage. Overlord, yes. I just hope it's not too late. So with these things, he may well be able to challenge this position in the middle. I just think with an ambulance and the major positioned here, that's all he needs, because then he can establish his indirect fire pieces here and maintain a weight of fire on the overcommand position. Look to clear this, and then suddenly look to sweep through mid. And that I don't think it's too late. I think he can do it. Here comes the motor carriage right now. So if that is well protected, it could go far. Now he's up to like Barbarossa here is up to like 210 fuel. And he's buying... Oh, he has to replace his Storm Pioneers who have been lost, which is a great shame. So he's going to be a long time till he gets any armoured units, simply because his manpower is so low. Fuel, not the issue right now. And these Volksgrenadiers kind of trading against these rear echelons. They're going to sit there firing at each other for a while, but if that keeps up, I believe the Volksgrenadiers are going to have to fall back. Meanwhile, on the left flank, a good dispersal of American infantry. The pack howitzer in a decent position. But here comes the mortar barrage, or the howitzer barrage, sorry, from the scavenge commander. Now, with only 76 munitions left after he's used it, this is not going to be too fierce. Boom, here it comes. So I imagine all these units should be able to get out. Of course, this is the ability where the more munitions you have... Oh, these Jaeger lights are getting a bit stuck in. This is the ability where the more munitions you have, the more intense and long-lasting the barrage. But yeah, with that many munitions, it's not that intense. And it is going to pick up the anti-tank gun though, so a touch unlucky for the American player. This motor carriage would love to be involved in the fight, and it will be shortly. The pack howitzer gets set up in a decent position, so we can look to see some pack howitzer shells coming in. A good grenade there, getting the squad wipe. 4 Jaeger light infantry going to go down to the American riflemen there. And this is a pretty good concave for the American forces. Flames pouring onto the Axis infantry. The motor carriage getting stuck in, getting 2 kills, I believe, with its first shot. That is nice. Okay, 1 kill, but still pretty good. And now the pressure can really start being applied. Oh, but he's lost his major somewhere along the line, so he can no longer set up his major with an ambulance in this location, which I was really hoping he would do. Smoke is used to screen out the Schwerer Panzer command building, but it can still see. And there are American forces heading for both the east and the western victory point. But they're going to be reasonably late getting there. He's taking the left one now. This fight in the middle is just so precarious. I just can't see any advantage being gleaned by the American player. Maybe he gets a few lucky squad wipes with the motor carriage? Maybe that's his way back into this? The pack howitzer is still firing in. I mean, this is making life pretty hard for the American player, but look, all he has to do is force the fallback from these squads. And now everything has to fall back and get out. And for the Axis player, it only has to go back to here to reinforce around. For the American player, it has to go all the way back to base. Overlord was doing so well when he was pushing with these ambulances. I don't want to keep going on about it, but it kind of is the story of this game. If you learn nothing from this game, except that ambulances are really important for maintaining pressure with America, then this game has been useful. Good grenade barrage coming out here. So the American forces have taken this one, and you know what? They're actually taking this one right now. So Overlord is getting out from under the clock, but I don't know for how much longer. because he's down at 15 tickets under 239, and the compositions right now are just kind of monstrously in favour of the overcommand. Actually, you know what, I say that, I might be exaggerating somewhat, but he is going for a King Tiger, there's no doubt about this. He would have bought something else by now, and you know, he's established his mechanised regiment HQ here. So he is going for a King Tiger. He just needs the 720 manpower, which he's well, he was halfway there, he's just actually spent some. Oh, he has to reinforce his squads, of course. Another motor carriage coming out. I like the choice. Like the choice from Overlord. This seems like a really good choice, but he's not going to be in the game that much longer. These 5-star Volks, you know what, I think they'll probably lose to these riflemen as long as the riflemen decide to close the distance. Here we go. Yeah. In fact, they're all so clustered up as well. Oh, that flamethrower is going to really, really hurt. I'll keep the Volks Grenadiers selected so that you can see their health in the bottom left as I check out these American troop movements on the right flank. Now, yeah, that's 2 American squads just chewing up some ground, but he already holds the victory point, so that's the most important point. Exchange of grenades here from these 2 forces, but you know what, these Volks are going to have to fall back. They're getting roasted and toasted. 3-star rifleman with Garans and a flamethrower. Don't take prisoners, and demonstrating their potency there. Now, the motor carriage is coming out. Now, I'm not quite sure what the range on a motor carriage is, but I assume it has to be at least that of a pack howitzer, or maybe a mortar squad. I mean, it's got to be decent. Speaking of the pack howitzer, that was actually lost by the American forces, and I'm not quite sure where it is. Maybe it was actually destroyed as well. Ugh! Grimy hit there from the motor carriage. And this is the thing about motor carriages, you know, they are powerful enough that they do just occasionally pick up a squad here or there, you know, whether it's a retreating squad or a very lucky hit on one which has got a lot of health. And look, see, now he's really putting on the pressure. If he puts barrages on this location, this is really difficult times for Barbarossa, who's desperately trying to take the other victory points as well. Now, he is going to get this one in the bottom right, but actually now American forces, they've decapped the middle victory point for the first time since the very beginning of this game, and somehow, some way, Overlord at this late junction is actually making a couple of plays here. The motor carriages punishing this overcommand composition. He just needs a tank, any tank. He's up to 312, but he keeps using up all his manpower, reinforcing and replacing squads. And both the Rakettenwerfers go down. This is what I'm on about. Motor carriages are super good. American players, please use them more often, please. They're really good. Down comes a barrage to buy himself a bit of time here for Barbarossa. No actual damage being caused, and he just, like a Panzer IV even, would be really good right now. Like, it would be easily countered by an Easy 8 being built, but you know, it would be pretty good. Anyway, 9 points now remaining for Overlord, and he's just trying to see how long he can eke this game out for. These motor carriages just doing spectacularly from the back here. They're pretty accurate, and the AoE is no joke on those units. Anyway, these Volks Grenadiers being like fed in here to like temporarily grab this point. Come on, you need to get the fallback on that squad. He does get the fallback, and then it's the Oversoldaten who are now preventing this victory point from changing hands. And with 3 tickets on the clock, now 2, I think that this is going to be curtains here for Overlord. These Oversoldaten bravely sacrificing their life to bleed the last and final, there we go, the final ticket here from Overlord. So, wow, that game went on, I think, longer than it should have, because the American player was so passive, and also, to some extent, Barbarossa was passive, but he did generally make use of his opportunities when he had them. And as I was saying, remember the early game, the American pushes in this location were so great. I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but it's kind of the moral of this game, is that an ambulance and a major, I think, with 1 piece of indirect fire would have been enough to defeat this position. And that would have changed everything. And it seemed like as soon as he just, I don't know if it was a conscious decision or if he just doesn't build ambulances in the late game or if he just forgot about building an ambulance to replace the ones he'd lost. But Overlord there, kind of doing himself a disservice by not replacing those ambulances. And, you know, and like the value of the ambulance really being like highlighted in this game because of how much aggression he was able to put on in the early game, if you compare and contrast that to his strategies in the late game, where he was just trying to fight but always having to fall back, and when your overcommand player is only having to fall back like this far, that's just, your squads are never going to be as efficient as theirs. They're going to be active for so much more of the squad's lifetime, and that means that you have a lot less field presence, you lose victory points, you lose resources, and that's a downhill battle. So I think when he had the major, if he'd have had the major with an ambulance and like a motor carriage and a pack howitzer, or 2 motor carriages, why not? Then this position would have gone a lot earlier. That is my analysis on this game. I don't think I have much more to say. Thank you very much to both the players for playing the game out. Thank you very much to everyone at home for watching. And for now, this is Magpie842 signing out.